Listen, the door's not a wall anymore. The tobacco man lit it with his matches. Can you smell it burning?
I can't stand the water anymore.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, late night.
Yeah, we're recording late. It's a late check out back. We're in our footy pajamas as we speak. It's 10:30. This is the latest we've ever recorded.
I actually do think you're correct. Jim's hungover. I've talked to him.
Yeah.
He was drinking, and then he was drunk, and now finally he's hungover.
That's what happens when you get over 25. When you drink too much, you're hungover for like 2 days. I didn't even drink that much. I was at my Brandon's house yesterday, and we had some friends over, and over 6 hours I had like 4 beers and some whiskey, and I woke up this morning. I had to get up early too, so I woke up this morning. I was groggy as fuck. Welcome to Shack Out Back episode. What episode is it? Episode 23.
I want to say 23.
I think it's 23.
That
We're
sounds
coming up
right.
on a year soon.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Like a month and a half.
I was walking around Storage Mart, and I was like, God damn, we're coming up on a year. Yeah, really shortly.
A year of this fucking garbage.
We're gonna have to do an extravaganza episode.
Yeah. This week I picked a book. This is our first actual book club of sorts. I picked 15 Dogs, which is a Canadian book I read in 3.5 hours. It was pretty good.
I like it quite a bit.
But as every week, the thing that Dan stole from some unknown
I don't know
podcast
where
or
I took it from.
YouTuber.
Definitely took it from somewhere.
It's the bi-weekly breakdown. So you go first, Dan. What have you been up to?
What has Danny been doing over the last 2 weeks? I've been getting
we did an
very
early
excited.
record last
yeah,
week, too.
and now we're doing a very late record, so...
Yeah.
I've been getting pretty excited. We're going to Canmore in 1 week, so I didn't really realize
Get your axes ready. You can follow Dan to his vacation and chop his head off.
You can chop my head off on one of the trails and leave me for dead. I've been getting excited for that. I've been working quite a bit. I've been alone for a lot of the time, so I've been making like insanely good commission and stuff because I don't have to share it with someone. I've been trying to play more board games and like looking at board game stuff, and I've also been researching a lot more about like customizing Gunpla and watching shows.
What about games? Movies?
Movies and games. Movies, I watched half of Psycho Gorman, and Cass and I are finishing the other half after this podcast episode, actually. So
Are you enjoying it?
yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Didn't know how I felt at the beginning because it was the little child dialogue is so stilted, but it's supposed to be like that. Like it's supposed to be campy and kind of awkward and cringy to listen to. I'm liking it a lot.
A lot of the reviews of that movie say the girl is like intolerable.
That's her point, bro. That's what she's there for. She's a fucking horrible person.
Garms.
I have
You've been playing Battlefield.
I was gonna say, was it last episode we already discussed that we said goodbye to Hunt, right?
There was an episode before that, I think. I
before
don't think
that.
we talked about Battlefield at all
I
last
was going
time.
to say, no, we've been playing quite a bit of Battlefield 1 and 4 and just kind of booling with the Battlefield series. I was having a lot of fun in 4 at the start, and now I'm just kind of getting tired of joining a server and someone in an attack helicopter is literally 60-0 and no one on the team is changing to engineer and I can't kill them alone. I need, like... other people.
Brandon said it was like people sitting in the fucking back and sniping and like not rushing points and shit.
Yeah.
Like the most fun I had with that game was when we were playing, I don't know what the game mode was called, but it was called like Rush or something.
Rush is fun. I like Rush.
Where there's no fucking equipment, like no tanks or anything. The only game I like tanks in was Battlefield 1. And it's just like you run around and kill guys and like capture points and stuff. That's what I like in Battlefield.
It feels good when everyone's doing their shit. Like, I don't know who I'm playing with, but the enemy helicopter is 60-0, and I get one hit off of it, and I see no other people shooting at rockets at it or trying to help or marking it, so it can't just use flares. And it's kind of weird that no one changes classes, but I've still been enjoying it. But other than that, I've been playing a shit ton of Persona 4 Gold. I started that
how are you
this week.
digging it?
Oh, it's so good, Jim. It's so good. I've played 17 hours or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. It is very, very good. I'm almost at the intimate relationship link with Chie.
Dan's been bit by the Persona bug.
Yeah, I was looking at how to go back and play 3 because it hasn't been ported yet, but there's rumors that it would be.
I have it on the... You know they're still selling it for the PS2 on Amazon. You can just buy a brand new fucking
Jesus.
PS2 copy. That's what I did.
But yeah, no, I've been liking it a lot, and it kind of got me excited for the new Shin Megami Tensei game, because I can look up what that series is kind of about. I've heard it's a lot harder and a lot different, but really excited.
I think Persona has its staples, and Shin Megami Tensei has its
different,
just the staple
I think.
of being hard. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Is that it for you then?
That is it for me. I've just been kind of doing that, and we kind of got a little bit more into Deep Rock, but it feels like we've been busy with other games.
Yeah, I want to play more Deep Rock,
Me too.
but I haven't been doing it too much.
Yeah.
So, me, Jim, I watched Joker 2 weeks ago, and I didn't like it at all.
Jim, tell me, why did you hate it?
It was obvious. The script was bad. The guy who directed it's a fucking hack. It's the guy who directed
Jesus.
those Hangover movies. I hate that guy. He makes bad films. I think the best parts of it were what Brandon brought up, were like the cinematography and Joaquin Phoenix's acting and costume design and stuff. And it's just wasted on this film that has like nothing to fucking say. It's just like a piece of shit. I don't know. I really don't know why people like it that much. I know you and Cassie liked it, but like I thought it was like good bad. Like I thought it was just a bad movie because I didn't turn it off, so it kept my attention. But I didn't like it much at all.
Yeah, Cassie liked it a lot. I think Cassie has it on Blu-ray, or really wanted it on Blu-ray. I liked it for what it was. It was cool. It was neat.
It just reminded me so much of other movies. Like Joaquin Phoenix had made a movie. I told you he made a movie called "You Were Never Really There or Here," and it was like the same movie.
That.
Yeah, and that movie's a lot better. Yeah, it was just a frustrating thing for me to watch. I read a book that wasn't $15. I read Riel, A Life of Revolution, which is a book about Louis Riel, and he's a fucking crazy man. It was a great book to read because it read like fiction. Man was a lunatic. You know what? I learned about Manitoba. Man helped to create Manitoba, Dan, the great province we're staying in right now.
What did he do?
He was one of the ones who drafted the fucking like Manitoba Act.
What the hell's that?
It made Manitoba into a province, bro.
Oh, what was it before?
It was like a territory. This is what happened. So it was him, because he was Métis. It was a bunch of Métis people who were trying to get like some support from the government. So they came up with the Manitoba Act.
Yeah.
This is very abridged. And they sent it to John A. Macdonald. And John A. Macdonald was a fucking cunt. Like, he was a terrible person. He's the reason why Canada is a country, but he was a fucking piece of slime. And he basically didn't give them anything they wanted and used it as an excuse to exploit them and kick them out of Manitoba and fill it with white Protestants.
Getting nay-nayed on.
Yeah.
He literally dabbed on them and then colonized. That's so fucking...
No, that was really good biography. Usually I start a biography and I get bored halfway through and stop reading, but I read that whole thing and like I got it in Montreal and I read like 300 pages in like 3 days.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever read a compelling biography. I feel like I have, but I can't put my finger on it.
I started the one for like Humphrey Bogart and Bruce Springsteen stuff and I just get so bored halfway through.
Yeah, I don't know what it would have to be. Like, I don't know who it would have to be for me to be like very invested in a biography of their life. Yeah, I don't know if I'm like that heavily invested into any like social figure or anything like that.
No, me neither. He was just an interesting dude to read about. I told you the story, but I went out with my friend Jaden and we bought a bunch of stuff.
You bought like Pokemon Cum Stain edition.
I bought Pokemon Cum Stain edition. No, we can't say that in a podcast. Whatever. I bought Pokemon Glazed, which is a really good. Pokemon Glazed. It's a fan game, and I had Jaden look it up. It's supposed to be really good, and it is really good. I was playing on my computer a little bit.
It was really good.
There was Etsy. People on Etsy were just making cartridges, and they soft lock after the first gym. Like it's just like
I don't get it.
Piece of
so
shit.
how?
It was a save issue, so it was like. At the beginning of the game, you get to this town and you do an event, like guards are blocking the way, and then you do something and then they leave.
Yeah.
But after a certain amount of time playing, they just come back and never leave, so it locks you into one part of the map. It
was never, like, you can fix it, right?
Not the cart. I'd have to
true.
I'd have to like. That's the thing is that if you play it online, like if you just drop it into like an Emerald ROM, works perfectly because it's been patched and stuff.
Yeah.
But because it's in a cartridge, it just doesn't work.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing to have.
Yes.
Huh.
And I was really liking it too. It was disappointing. I watched Godzilla vs. King Kong.
How'd you like it?
The people parts weren't as good as Godzilla King of Monsters or whatever. But it was good when the big monkey punched the big lizard.
I like seeing big monkey with big axe. I also liked the world building. It was cool seeing the inside world and how the gravity changed and they fell and shit.
Yeah, it was neat.
And seeing like the huge King Kong skulls and stuff and he was walking through them. It was real neat. It was just a fun popcorn movie.
it didn't like I didn't expect the series to go there, right? Because the first Godzilla, like the new first Godzilla movie, was very like pseudo realistic and like very self-serious, and the rest of the movies aren't, which I enjoy.
Well, yeah, I was like, dang, yeah, it was going serious, and then he sat on a big monkey throne with a monkey axe, and I was
sat
like,
there all self-satisfied, like,
literally.
and then I've been watching lots of Cold Ones. I was hungover today, so I watched lots of Cold Ones.
Yes.
And I've been catching up on Meat Canyon too.
Me too. Hey.
Just all the freaking disturbing shit on YouTube that I want to watch.
Yeah, same time. I watched a lot of Meat Canyon yesterday that I hadn't watched.
I woke up this morning and I was supposed to go out to breakfast. My friend canceled, so I was like, okay, I just caught up on like 2 hours worth of Meat Canyon.
Good stuff. I love that guy.
But I think that's it for the bi-weekly breakdown.
You're ready to talk about the book that contains 15 dogs?
You ready for me to spew some English criticism?
I am. I'm excited. So we are talking about the book by Andre Alexis. It was printed in, I believe, 2015 or 16, and it's called 15 Dogs, and it's set in Toronto, so it's set relatively far away from where we are in the canon universe, but relatively close to where we are in the real world universe.
Are you talking about check out back?
Yeah.
I'll have Radicus close his ears so he's not excluded. No, I was just in Toronto, coming back from Montreal. I had a layover for a couple hours, and no, it was nice. I was in some of the places that were in the book.
Yeah, you were in the place where they found the Sludge Pirates gun warehouse.
I literally, me and Dan found this YouTube channel we really like called Sludge Pirates. These two dudes who like dredge things out of the drink with
magnet fishing, yeah.
And they had a video where they were like pulling guns at the Toronto Harbor, and I saw the pier they were at as my bus was going by. I guess it's right near downtown Toronto.
Jim, mouth agape, pointed at the screen and screamed, and he said, "Those are the Sludge Pirates. That's them. I was there." And I saw them. I saw them with my 2 eyes.
I arrived at my religious pinnacle.
Yeah.
But getting on to the story.
Do you want to give a short breakdown of what it is? Because I don't know if many people would have read this book.
I think we'll do like a blurb about it. So what would you say is like on the outset is like what this book is?
So quick, I think it's a
no
easy
plot
book to
summary,
describe.
just like the.
What do you mean? What it is?
Not the plot summary, just like the premise, the setup.
This is a book talking about what makes human, and if other animals could, be happy with human intelligence and what really makes you tick. It's very interesting.
I would totally disagree with that.
Do you not like it?
No, it's not about that.
Okay.
To me, it's trying to. I think it's similar, but it's using like two third parties in this book, and one of them I think isn't necessary at all.
Okay.
One of them I think shouldn't have been in the book at all.
Okay.
But using dogs as an excuse to look at consciousness in a way that's not human. I guess that's what you said, but it's more about. I think it's more about what they're not than what like they are.
Okay.
It's not about how similar they are to humans, it's about how different they are.
Okay, yeah, I can feel that.
So, what this book set on the outset is about, like, Hermes and Apollo, the Greek gods, are sitting in a bar in Toronto, and they make a bet that if one of them, like, gives a bunch of dogs in this kennel human sentience, and if they die, one of them dies happy, they'll be, like, in servitude to one another or something. Yeah. It's like a weird premise.
They were arguing about no animal is, like, humans are no better or worse than any other animal. It's just because they have intelligence. But if you gave human intelligence to any animal, they'd be miserable, was the kind of throughput from them. But yeah.
Why did you read this book in the first place?
That's a good fucking question. Do you want to know the actual answer, I believe?
You just picked it up randomly?
I think it was free on the Kindle, and I got it. But I read it, and I started reading it because I'd never heard of it, but I saw it got a bunch of award nominations, and it was set in Toronto. So I was like, I'll keep going. And then I was a couple chapters in, and I was like, it's not a long book at all. It's only 170 or 80 pages.
Yep.
And I was like, this is really interesting. I was like, I'm liking this a lot. So yeah.
It's a very breezy read, too.
It's easy, yeah. I think I've read this book twice, and then I listened to the audiobook this time around because I wanted to try an audiobook out.
How was the audiobook?
It was good. It was actually narrated by him, too, Andre Alexis.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he had to say things like, 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis, narrated by Andre Alexis.
Does he do voices, or did you just read it straight out?
He doesn't do voices, but at one point I heard his cell phone ring.
That's that's awesome.
And
I love that.
he said sorry, and then it like cut away, and then it like cut back.
Giving like a brief plot summary of what happened in this book, because you should have read it before you did this podcast, or you can read it after. It doesn't really matter, because I don't think spoilers would affect things.
Brief plot summary, yeah.
Yeah.
So Hermes and Apollo give 15 dogs in a pound in Toronto human level of intelligence within 1 second. It's not like they gain. It's not like they
Gradually.
gain the gradually, or they gain like the same knowledge as a human, but they are as conscious, so they're conscious of their own actions. That's the first thing that sticks out. So instantly the dogs start to realize that it's easy to open the cages, right? And it's awkward to like sniff your genitals and stuff in front of people, and everyone's looking at each other and who's the pack leader.
They're
and stuff
like, what
that.
the fuck?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting how it's set up. So immediately some of the dogs, I think 2 or 3 of them,
3 of them immediately are done.
They're like, I don't want to go into that world.
We're gonna name the dogs
Yes.
as we go, because
Yep.
I have a list. Agatha, Lydia, and
Yes.
Ronaldino die immediately. Agatha was old; she gets put to sleep literally the next day.
And she didn't. Yeah, so it's a depressing book. I'll say it's not a very happy-go-lucky book.
No, and it has humor to it.
Yes,
and
definitely.
But it's more about like eliciting emotion than it is
Yes.
about like making you comfortable.
Yep.
Ronaldino goes back to live with his humans, and he's just like, he doesn't feel good his whole life, and he just like dies like sad.
Yeah.
And then Lydia. This is what I thought. Because one of the dogs' name is Lydia, and she's supposed to be a French poodle or something.
Yep.
And do you remember when we watched The Fisher King? Robin Williams' love interest in that movie was named Lydia.
Oh, yes.
She played a character in A Simple Wish who was a French poodle who turned into a human.
Huh.
So I
mean,
think
you never
this-
know. It could be
It could be that, because
Yeah.
that's immediately what I thought of when I heard it. But
Yeah, you
Lydia
never
in
know.
this book, she has the consciousness, and she goes, and she doesn't like being condescended to or being alone, because the big thing in this book is that the dogs don't like that they can feel time passing now.
Yeah.
And then she basically goes catatonic, and then they put her to sleep.
It was a lot of just not really nihilistic, but just
Realistic.
just realistic. It was like, yeah, the dog goes home and his owners think he's just a weird dog because he's walking around not barking anymore, because what's the point if they don't understand him? And he's
Yes.
just depressed. He just dies miserable. But yeah, as it goes on, a pack starts to form and stuff.
It was really surprising to me that they killed 3 dogs like right off the
Quickly,
bat.
really quickly.
And like, it's almost like this book shouldn't have been called 15 dogs. It should have been called 12 dogs.
12 dogs and 3 of them that died.
But the remaining 12, they form a pack. They
Yep.
escape the pound and form a pack, and they like are living together and like scavenging and bringing their stuff back to like this one area.
Yep. Yeah, they live in Hyde Park over in Toronto.
Yeah, and they just like descend into like infighting
chaos.
and terrible. Yeah,
It's fucking chaos.
the beginning of the book when the dogs are together, there's some dogs like Prince and Majnun
Yes.
who like want to explore like what it means to be them rather than it means to be like a regular dog.
What it means to
So
use language. I thought that was a very interesting theme of this book, was
language.
language and what it really means if no one can understand you. Is it worth it to keep talking and stuff like that?
That's Prince's whole thing,
That's,
right?
yeah,
It's
he makes
his-
poems.
Yeah, his desire to be sort of heard and communicate with other beings.
Yeah.
So there's a schism in the dog pack at a certain point where Atticus, who is the alpha, like wants to live as dogs again. So he kills, really quickly, he kills Athena,
Yep.
Bella,
Yep.
and Bobby.
Yes.
Kills all of them. And he has everyone else kind of follow him, and he tries to kill Majnun, and but he fails, and he gets like rescued. But
Well, he tries to kill Prince as well, and Prince like God powers away. He no clips out of the
Yeah.
map and then walks back because Hermes helps him. But yeah, it's quite disturbing, especially the deaths, because they're cognitive
Yeah.
of what they're doing. Like they're cognitive that they don't like Prince because he speaks differently than them, and they don't really understand if he should be an alpha because he can formulate sentences like that, even though he's very clearly not as strong as them.
I think that all of the dogs struggle with like their dog instincts as well as their consciousness, right? I think the one who gets
especially
over
near the end, yeah.
yeah, I think the one who gets over it the best is Majnun,
Yes.
but the rest of them are kind of like torn apart by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens, and then there's another schism again. I think the 4 main characters in this book, right? The 4 main dog characters
Yep.
are Prince, Atticus, Majnun, and Benji.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that, 100%. They get their own whole chapters, essentially, near the end of it.
I think that they also explore like a different facet of what it means to be conscious too. Because Atticus's whole thing is about guilt about what he did in killing those dogs and stuff, and he kind of like leads the rest of the remaining pack to their doom and gets them poisoned.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is about revenge and stuff. Prince, his was about like finding meaning in life through language. Benji was about being a fucking asshole and trying to like exploit people with his newfound intelligence.
He's just exploitative because he knows how to, so he just rolls with it completely.
Yeah, and Majnun was more about sort of making connection and trying to explore himself.
Majnun was almost a person by the end of it. Like, he could fully understand the English language. He could communicate. He could pretty much talk. Yeah, I thought Atticus, the first time around I read this, I didn't think Atticus was very... I thought he was the antagonist, but none of them really are. Like, Majnun and Prince are clearly, like, nicer than the other ones. They're different. But reading it again, Atticus is really like, his chapter's interesting. He talks about feeling horrible and feeling remorseful for killing Bobby.
Yeah,
because
he talks about feeling remorse too, and like he's starting to. I think part of the story too is him like starting to feel like what almost could be described his love for Rosie, like the German Shepherd.
Yes.
Because he talks about like how like he just doesn't want to have sex with her. He wants to like protect her and be with her and do all this different stuff. So I don't think the other dogs explore that romantic love at all.
I think it would have been interesting to see it go down more, but I think the little scene we get, the little paragraph or whatever, is enough. But yeah, I thought it was interesting with Atticus talking about Bobby, because he kind of said like, killing Athena, which was the smaller dog, and then Bella, which was a Great Dane, meant something. They were complete problems. But killing Bobby was a complete just act of violence because they were inciting violence. Mm-hmm. It was very interesting. A
reactionary
thing, yeah. Instead of like forewarned, and they actually did it for a reason.
I think that coincides too, right, with like consciousness and instinct, because Atticus wants to act on that dog instinct, right? And that's what leads him to do these things, then regret them afterwards.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of selling that, like, in some ways, you know, them being dogs and them having consciousness kind of complements one another, but that's definitely not a way that it complements one another. It just makes problems.
It's horrendous for most of them. Like, even Majnun, which is the most the book spends relatable on a dog, is Majnun, and he's the most relatable. It's still shitty. Like, talking to his owner and stuff, there's still a lot of things Majnun clearly doesn't understand because it's so alien to him, even though he does understand the English language.
I think Majnun focuses on love more. Like, there's more of a discussion when he's talking to like Nira about different things, but I think that he doesn't really feel it, right? Like, he kind of like understands, like, he kind of like can kind of visualize what it is, like romantic love, but he still doesn't feel it.
Yeah, I found it very interesting with him when Nira essentially is like, who's the second in the pack under Miguel, like her husband, and Majnun was pretty much like, well, obviously me, I'm above you. And he wasn't saying it to be mean, obviously. He was just saying it as an instinctual thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's me. I'm not under you. You're under me because I'm speaking to you. And she got horribly pissed off.
Yeah. I think that was a very interesting way to take this book. Because I like, when you watch like a Disney film, like fucking, what's that movie with Billy Joel?
Billy Joel?
Yeah, the one where they're all animals in fucking New York and like the garbage, and then they like talk and people freak out. Like, that would be an easy way, because some of the dogs do talk in this book and people freak out and like want to like exploit them or kill them or something. But it was a very cool thing for them to like, for Majnun, after he gets attacked, is saved by Nira and then develop a relationship with her.
Yeah, it wasn't just comedic value dog speaking. It was more like, holy fuck, the dog is kind of talking and barks. Like, I can completely understand what it means. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to talk about structure, because I feel like that's the biggest problem I have with this book.
Okay.
Overall, I really liked it. I like the characterization, and I really like different parts of this book. But there are things that I would have done differently and things that I didn't enjoy as much. Before I talk about it, like, what would be your critique of this book if you had one?
If I had a critique of this book, I would have liked it to go in a little bit more on some of the dogs. I think it would have been very interesting. I think they threw away a lot of the cast very quickly. And it would have been more interesting to see the dogs that were going to be euthanized and how they were dealing with coming up towards an understanding that they were dying. That happens more near the end with...
Prince and Majnun.
I was thinking of the dog that ate the poison. Was that Benji?
Oh, Benji? Yeah, that was fucked.
That when he eats the poison, he's like, I've done something bad. Like, I'm not going to live. And he can't do anything about it, right? Mm-hmm. I thought that would have been a more interesting route to go down with some of them, but overall, I really liked it. I liked how long it was, too. It didn't overstay its welcome, and the end kind of wrapped everything up quite nicely.
I think that you're right. All those points you just said, I agree with wholeheartedly. But I think my biggest problems with the book were how, what you said, like how some of the revelations in the story was laid out. Like, I didn't like that the book ended with Prince. I really didn't like that.
Yeah,
I wish it ended with Majnun.
Yeah, it was kind of abrupt. They switched. Yeah, they switched from Majnun to Prince very quickly.
Because Majnun was like the most relatable character.
Yeah,
because he was the most human character in the end. So I think it would have been better to end on him, just to like leave you with like those pangs of like, holy fuck, that was really fucking sad.
You essentially just saw a human die. Yeah.
And I think all like the inclusion of the Greek gods was not good.
I thought it was kind of weird.
I think the story would be better without it.
Who would you, would it just be like a thing that happened to these dogs?
It'd be better. I don't like that some things are explained in the book. I think that all the parts with the Greek gods should just be cut out completely. Yeah. Because I think you should keep, because there's a different points in the story where characters intervene with the dogs.
And it's
like
magical.
The Greek gods will take like dog form or human form and like talk to them and bring them places and stuff. I wish that just happened without the backs, like what they are.
I wish that just happened. Just like a being.
Yeah, like some kind of weird omnipotent dog god. Like
that would have been interesting.
If that part, because Atticus started praying to like what he thought would be, there was a very Greek, it was a very Greek thought, like the perfect dog.
Yes,
because it reminded me of So I read The Republic, where The Republic talks about like no place, utopia is no place, because it's like the perfect place that doesn't exist.
It's like Atticus the song Heaven by the Talking Heads.
Yes, that's a good song. I love the Talking Heads. But Atticus was thinking of like what the perfect dog would be, and Zeus took that form to talk to him. I wish that he was just thinking of that, and then that dog appeared to him in his dreams, and you think like, oh, maybe that was real, maybe that wasn't. And then you could link it to Benji, because the dog said like, oh, I'm going to grant you your wish at the end. And then Atticus could die and say, fuck that dog who poisoned us. And then Benji dies. It would have been better. I think that all stuff with the Greek gods was there for either like explanation's sake that didn't need to be included, or comic relief. Because I don't know about you, but I think that the dogs critiquing on having consciousness, like relating to humans, relating to being like a being and being present, was much more strong than the gods like whinging about like living forever and like humans.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. That was very generic.
It was odd hearing them talk, and you didn't hear a lot of the Greek gods' backstories for a while. But the chapter that you did hear a little more in, it was kind of weird. It was like they mentioned it got pretty deep into the pantheon. They mentioned the Sisters of Fate and how they weave stories and how everyone was watching this bet going on. I think I agree with you on that. I do think it would have been more interesting if it was left to the reader's imagination that it was a omnipotent being of some sort, instead of kind of in my Greek opinion gods. At least, kind of a random addition of Greek gods, because it's not like that's a huge pantheon over here in North America.
Well, when I was a kid, like I loved learning about Greek gods. I loved learning about Greek culture and stuff. I have like books that I bought as like 12, 13 years old about like Greek pantheon stuff. I found it interesting. But like, it's a distraction in this book that I don't think is necessary. I think it would have been way stronger if the dogs just wake up, they're conscious, they go about stuff, they like create gods, they like see like visions and all this stuff.
Yeah, because you could have played with religion a lot more. Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the last part of the book too is, I don't really care. It was Hermes or Apollo. To be honest, I don't really give a fuck about their characters and motivations, so I don't remember which one did what.
Yeah, me neither.
And it's one of them talking about like life and then whatever, and that's the way you end the book. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like this is not a good ending. I think it picked itself up a bit with it ending with Prince's spirit being reunited with its master or something.
Yes, I like that.
But I wish that was like, I wish if you kept the part Prince's story at the end, if he was like dying and just imagined being with his owner or whatever, being with Kim, that would have been a much better ending to
Yeah,
go on.
instead of literally
explanation.
being shown as a spirit form. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, and I people might get mad at me for saying this, it belays like a lack of confidence in the writing and a lack of confidence that like your reader is going to understand or pick up on things.
Yeah. Almost like it's a crutch to fall back on, because you can kind of do like a Deus Ex Machina. If something happens, you just need to you write it. The dog Prince got magical sands blown in his eyes, so now he's blind. Yeah.
It reminded me of when we were talking about Hellboy, in that first Hellboy movie where they have the Myers character, like that generic movie character where the characters can turn to them and explain what's going on. It felt like that a little bit to me, where the Greek gods were there and they were fighting with each other, and then Zeus would be like, okay, you gotta go do this, and then they do it, but it's like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen, okay, rather than it being like a surprise or a revelation or something like that.
Yeah, I really do. I never thought about it like that. But I really do think it would have fit the book's theme really well if one of the dogs did start, and Atticus could have been it, talking about religion because he saw this figurehead, and now they could have been like playing with the idea of what a religion means if they've never seen religion but they have cognitive function like that. Yeah.
I think the Prince and Atticus kind of deal with that, right? Because Prince's religion was the whole, self
it was self-actualization. It was him finding himself, but also trying to keep what he believes is his pack alive by using poems that no one else understands.
Preserving that language and expression, right?
Yes. Even I found it cool when he was pretty much saying he noticed that his master was trying to repeat the poem, so that meant something to him, at least, that he was saying it. Yeah, very interesting.
I feel like that stuff would have worked and left a deeper mark on me if I didn't have that like explanation from the gods. Like, just let me figure it out myself. Because like, do you know if this guy's written anything else?
I believe so. I'm almost certain. So I don't know if you know how to pronounce this, but it's the word Quincunx.
I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
Can you say that again? I'll just type it in.
Quincunx. It's cycle of books by him. I guess it's a three, like a trilogy. It's of a theme of faith.
Oh,
peace,
it's
love.
what 5 is on a dice. Okay.
Oh, really? So yeah, there's Pastoral. 15 Dogs is the second book, which deals with the theme of place, I guess. And then Ring, The Hidden Keys, and Days by Moonlight. So
what are they about?
Truthfully, I've never even heard of them. 15 Dogs is the only one I've heard from him, so maybe it's the only one that did exceptionally well.
Because this could be... Yeah, it's Quincunx 2, number 2, that's what it is.
Yeah, and it has nothing relating to 1, 3, 4, or 5, I'm sure. Unless maybe the gods are present in all of them? I don't know, I'm just throwing out stuff now.
I'm just reading the synopsis of Pastoral really quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
That seems like a very...
It feels like a very loose way to relate 5 books, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's a good idea to link a bunch of books together, exploring themes rather than like carrying over characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you're able to do whatever you want. Basically, you're not constrained by some sort of universe or something. I mean, that might be a good book. I don't think I'll read it, but because isn't that trilogy of books you're reading that movie was based on? What were they called?
What are you talking about? Books I was reading?
Those sci-fi books.
Fuck
that
me.
One, that had the movie Aftermath. The one that movie Aftermath was based on.
Planet X trilogy.
Yeah, weren't they kind of the same thing where they didn't share like a universe, but they were about like different things or something?
So they shared a universe. What the hell was it called? Not Planet X. Fucking Area X. What the hell was it called?
Are they all about the
Southern Reach trilogy.
The Southern Reach trilogy.
The Southern Reach trilogy. They are all in the same universe, but completely about different things. The first book is what the movie was based off of, quite loosely in some places, but pretty specifically. And then the second book deals with the actual government facility running it, and then the third book comes back and ties up both of them as the character from the second one goes into Area X. I'd recommend those books. They're very fucking cool.
Yeah, they seemed interesting. I guess I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at the bodywork of any author, right, like Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson or John Steinbeck, right? Like you can see that they share themes and they share like different inspirations and stuff.
100%.
Like Brandon Sanderson's books are about like, you know, very hard sci-fi and magic rules. And
I was gonna say he makes high fantasy, doesn't he?
Yeah. And Stephen King's books are about being scared in Maine during the rain. And John Steinbeck's books are about struggling with political ideology and faith. That's what they're usually about, and family. But I mean, I'm trying to think of like other great Canadian authors, and I'm kind of struggling right now because I talk about Patrick DeWitt a lot.
Robert Munch.
Robert Munch, is he Canadian?
I'm almost certain Robert Munch is Canadian. Didn't he have the blue spruce thing? Wasn't that Canadian?
I have no idea. Margaret Atwood's really good. Yeah, but I don't like... I think recently I've taken more time to watch Canadian movies, especially on Shudder, just because they're more readily available. And I went through a big period of like... there's a bunch of good Canadian movies. Have ever made you watch Ginger Snaps?
No, you haven't.
That's a good movie. And Going Down the Road and a bunch of stuff like that's really good. Yeah. What are your like? If you were to, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. It's tough talking about books because I don't usually make podcasts about books.
I don't usually discuss books in this great length. I probably haven't done this since grade 11 or 12 English.
I feel like when you're talking about a story, right, there's less stuff to talk about than there is about like a movie or a TV show or a video game, just because those things have so many more facets.
Yeah, it's a lot more, sight, and I imagined lots of things differently than you, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. It's about gameplay and cinematography and presentation and how well the game runs or how well the movie's presented and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking about a book, you're talking about like, is the minute to minute reading the book enjoyable, or do the characters work? Does the storyline go where I want, and is the writing style nice?
Yes.
Because I feel like because I did an English degree, and when you talk about books in like English class or in university or whatever, a lot of the way it's framed is how important the book is or the themes. Like talking about Shakespeare or something, people always talk about like how this was like the cornerstone of modern English language, how like a lot of different plays and stuff grew out of that. Or you're talking about like Steinbeck books, talking about like the themes and how well allegories are carried over. But when you're talking about like me and you, like guys who just like reading shit, like we're talking about how to survive camping and stuff like that, what we like, right? And what I feel like isn't included in a lot of academic conversations about books is like, do I like the characters?
It's
do
the
I
enjoyment, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's enjoyment and the minutia.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can talk about like, okay, Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is an important book. It's from a cultural standpoint, it's a cornerstone, a lot of works based on it. It was very true to like the time as in terms of like how people perceive things in Africa and all that stuff. But it fucking sucks to read. Like it's not a fun book to read. And the way the guy wrote it, it's like you read it 16 times, the same line 16 times. And I'm a guy who likes boring books. I'm a guy who read a fucking 450-page book about Louis Riel in like a week, right? And I like that minutia. But when shit is boring, it's fucking boring. Doesn't matter if it was written 800 years ago or last week.
Yeah, they're the books. I used to talk about that in high school with my one of my English teachers. They're the books you read to then say that, yeah, I've read that book.
You've read them,
so I don't need to read it again. I can talk about it now.
Well, you did that with Big Mouth.
Essentially, yes, I did. I'm not picking that as the next topic. That crossed my mind just now. Maybe I will in the future.
Don't do that, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say, did you realize that the poems that Prince writes, there's 15 of them, and in every single one, you can hear one of the dogs' names because they don't know each other's names? Did you notice that?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So
is it like an automatopoeia, or is it like every letter of every word or something like that?
It blurs in if you read them aloud. You'll never notice them if you just read them in your head. So yeah, I didn't notice it the first time around, but none of the dogs ever say their names to each other.
No, they're secret names.
They're secret names.
Because as you're reading the book too, they have their names that their first owner gave them.
Yes.
Like Benji and Frickin' Frack and stuff like that. But the only ones who convey their true name are Benji, because he can talk, and
Yes,
Majnun, who can talk.
because he can talk. Yeah, every other one, Prince goes by 2 different names, I think. Lord
Yeah.
Jim and something else.
Well, Majnun, yeah, when Nira finds him, just calls him like Lord Jim and
Lord
stuff.
Jim,
Just
that's
calls him
Majnun.
Jim.
Yes, correct.
And then he I remember it was part of the book where he leaves and he's going to like leave forever because she did something, but he decides to come back and he just like, he hasn't talked to her since like the first time he talked. He just looks at her and says like, my name's Majnun. I'd prefer you to call me that.
I'd be
That's
called
my
that.
true
I'm
name."
not Lord Jim. Yes.
Yeah.
You're Lord Jim.
Such a powerful part of that book. Like,
Yeah.
that said so much without saying a lot. That's I talked about that too. My new favorite Canadian author, Patrick DeWitt, he says so much in his books with so little text. He has a wonderful control of the English language, and that was my favorite parts of this book, where the author implied and said so much with what he was writing, but then he had those fucking Greek god characters commenting on it after.
It was
ruining
hard cuts to this is exactly what just happened. This is exactly what's going to happen because these characters are omnipotent. But yeah, I'll read some of these poems, and they're not very hard to get. Some of them are harder than others, but this is one of them that Prince writes. So, in the sunny world with its small things moving too fast, I shy from the light and in the attic cuss the dark. So it's Atticus.
Oh my
obviously,
God.
yes. But you'll never notice them if you don't say them out loud. So,
I guess you got that from the audiobook, eh?
I got it from the audiobook, and the first time I read this book, I kind of looked up lots of stuff about it because I was very interested in it. So the one for Bella is beyond the hills a master is who knows our secret names. With bell and bones, he'll call us home, winter, fall, or spring. So it's bell and bones. If you say it out loud, it's Bella.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the one for Rosie I haven't read, but let me see if I can figure it out.
I'm more excited to read the other book that he's written than if this is like...
I'll probably dive into them, to be honest.
If that's like a component, 'cause that's what I like. I like that stuff that's hidden in plain sight. I really like a book that I would recommend you read. It's called House of Leaves.
I do really, really want to fucking read it.
It's very good, and I read it again. Like, I read it a few years ago, and I read it again recently, and I found like much more stuff that I hadn't found. And I left all my notes because there's a part where you have to like... There's a part where you decipher like
That's
a letter
so
that the
cool.
guy got from his mom or something with a cipher, and it's so cool.
That's the one, the oldest house, right? Like it's a house with like it just goes on.
Yeah, I think the oldest house is what's
That's from
in,
Control.
Control, yeah.
Yes,
but
but
it's basically
yeah.
the same premise.
Yes, that's so fucking cool. I will definitely read that.
Yeah.
I think we're about done. I think that's about it.
Yeah. What are your closing thoughts on 15 Dogs, Dan?
I would say definitely read it. It's cheap, if not free, for a lot of time on Amazon Prime if you have a Kindle or Audible subscription or anything like that. I think on Audible I did get it for free or for extremely cheap. And it's supporting Canadian authors, so.
That's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, like, read the book, and if you totally disagree with what I had to say, that's the best thing about... That's why I went to school for English, is because people can read something and have a totally different read on it, and that's totally cool. That's what makes reading and discussion like the best part of... To me, it's one of the best parts in life, is exploring what other people think about something.
Yeah.
So, and this is a good book to elicit that. So yeah, getting over our serious talk about books, I'm gonna pat Bradicus's tummy as I fill his mouth with a big can of beans.
Delicious.
It's after 11 o'clock, listeners. Old man Jim, his bones are creaking from too much whiskey the night before. He's ready for a good old shack sleep. So, Dan, I'm actually scared. I'm actually scared of what you might pick, because I have absolutely no fucking clue what you might pick for the next topic. So I'm afraid. So lay it on me. What are we doing?
I didn't have any idea until a couple days ago when I saw some people discussing this movie. So I haven't watched it, so I'm extremely excited to watch it. And it is called Jinro the Wolf Brigade, and it's a 1999 action anime movie. And it's supposed to be extremely good. Jinro the Wolf Brigade.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I believe Jinro is the city, and there's Capitol Police that are hunted down for elimination by a special squadron. And I've heard it's very different from a Studio Ghibli movie, almost the complete opposite of what a Studio Ghibli movie tries to be. It's very dark and grim, and...
What production company made it?
I don't really know. None that I recognize.
Bandai Visual. I remember.
Oh,
I know what
really?
Bandai is.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Is it? It's live action.
It is anime. I believe there was a live action...
Oh, okay.
redo of it, but Jinro the Wolf Brigade 1999 film is an anime movie.
Oh, it looks cool as fuck.
Yes, I'm very excited. So we can come over here one night and watch it.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, but that's my pick.
I kind of want to pick another weird movie then. For
I'd be down. That's about it for tonight, though. I'm tired as hell, too.
What do you suggest? We can talk about this after too, but what do you suggest I like intro and outro this freaking podcast with? Because before it's easy because we do like movies and TV shows and stuff. Yeah.
Intro it with a bunch of dogs fucking barking. I don't know.
So, prepare to get your eardrums blown out, I guess, listeners. Radicus, I'm going to snuggle up with him in my corner of the shack, and I think we're going out here, guys. So take us out, Dan.
Snuffing out the candle, I get up, I have my big nightcap on, I snuff out the candle and blow into the shutters, and they close.
And then Chad and Max burst out from under the bed and go, "Hey, Bruce, go this grog with us!"
That'll be it.
Good night, darling.
Goodbye, Jill.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dan.
Good night, everybody.
I'm inside my head now, and it's where I should be.
This is no time for one of your turns. Come on out, you great fond fool. Sharp with you now, before we're all caught.
I can't come out. If I do, I'll go mad again.
Move yourself. Sharp now, you great nanny hammer.